Farming technology is always advancing, and staying up to date on the newest products could make a critical difference in your operation. Tonight, Streamline Ag's technology provider, DPH Biologicals, will share their newest innovations. Hear from the experts on how easy it is to integrate their products to support crop fertility, soil health, and field management to mitigate yield-reducing events.
Good evening and welcome to Rural America Live. I'm Tammy Arender. Tonight, one of the things that we will focus on is DPH Biologicals' Prime Technology Platform and the first two products using it. Here with me tonight is DPH Biologicals President and CEO Mick Messman, Chief Technology Officer Alex Cochran, along with Streamline Ag Managing Director Paul Conrad, and also Agri Energy Solutions dealer and owner of River Valley Ag Exchange, plus a grower himself. We have Derek Davis. Appreciate you guys being with me tonight. Let's get to know you. In case folks in our audience aren't familiar with you, Mick, let's start with you.
Hi, Tammy. My name is Mick Messman. I lead DPH Biologicals. I grew up on a farm in Nebraska, attended the University of Nebraska for my bachelor's degree, got a master's degree at Colorado State, and have enjoyed a long career in agriculture, about 25 years with large multinational companies, in the last 6 years or so with smaller companies like DPH Biologicals.
Good to have you. Alex?
Yeah, Alex Cochran. So I'm from Indiana and actually currently reside in Westfield, Indiana with my wife and two daughters. Went to Purdue University for both my undergraduate and graduate degrees, ultimately finishing up with PhD in plant pathology, and have worked now with DPH and Mick here for the past 3 years and have the privilege of leading our science and technology team. Good
to have you as well. Paul?
Yeah, Paul Conrad. I lead Streamline Ag, which is a seed-driven crop inputs company. DPH is a big supplier of ours. From a dairy and row crop farm in Nebraska, attended the University of Wyoming, and I live in Omaha, Nebraska now.
All right, very good. Last but not least, Derek.
Always got somebody to be last, don't they? So, Derek Davis, Marshall, Missouri. Our family, I live on the same gravel road I was born on, so don't think we're going anywhere anytime soon.
You are rooted.
Yes, we are rooted. We are rooted. There with my wife, Lindsay, and our kids, Gentry and Gage, and we own and operate Legacy Ridge Farms and River Valley Ag Exchange. And we work with growers and also other retailers to help navigate this crazy world of biologicals.
Yeah, and it is a growing world, ever expanding. But you're a grower, you're using it. We're going to talk to you about that in just a minute. Mick, let's start with you, though, because we're looking at a sector of agriculture now that they would say that as much as 50% of the people don't really know enough about biologicals to make an informed decision on their operation. So what would you tell them that DPH Bio is doing to help them, and how do you better explain and help them understand exactly what biologicals are?
Yeah, well, first of all, growers are adopting biologicals, but you're exactly right. There are a lot of companies, there are a lot of questions, and growers sometimes want more information. So they want education, they want to ensure there's quality, and they want to make sure they're working with a trusted partner. So at DPH Biologicals, we've really worked to invest in the product development space and make sure that we have a clear technical understanding of the value prop and work with partners like Streamline Ag and River Valley Ag to explain that. I'll turn it over to Alex, and he can walk through some of the things we've done in terms of educating the market through biological white papers and such.
And making sure and ensuring that quality.
Absolutely. So, one of the things, just to kind of back up, when you hear about biologicals, it is a big, confusing space. So a lot of technologies in the space. When you think about biologicals, it can either be living microbial active ingredients, and that's, where DPH's portfolio is largely based. But there can also be non-living technologies that are make up that space for biologicals as well. So one of the things we did at DPH Biologicals very early on and continue to support is just this notion of thought leadership and helping growers, cut through all the clutter and understand, first and foremost, how do I use these technologies? So what, the specific functionalities of different biologicals in their farming operation. So I think many growers are familiar with biocontrol technologies. These would be technologies targeting the control of various pests like diseases or insects or nematodes. These have been commercially deployed for many years, and it's a space that continues to grow. And then biostimulant technology is another big space that I think many growers are familiar with. Biostimulants, Oftentimes, these are used to help manage abiotic stress, so things like drought stress, for example, or helping encourage plant growth. Two areas that are really beginning to develop, and you know, I should say beginning, they've been in development for some time, but we're really starting to see emphasis there. One is around biofertilizers. So, you know, mainly you can think of these technologies are things that are targeting the soil, and in particular soil health. So ways to amend the soil to improve soil health in your farming operation, and with that, the benefits that come with that, largely focused around productivity. And then finally, biodigesters. So this is a space that we've seen, not just at DPH, but I think in general, we've just seen explode in terms of technology and interest for growers. So many growers are dealing with specific pain points tied to crop residue, dealing with large amounts of residue that can interfere with their planting operation. It can be hard on tractor tires. And frankly, it's an opportunity for them as well. And we'll touch on that a bit later. But this biodigester space is one that we've seen just explode, and one that we're investing in as well.
Right. I know you guys are focused on the latest technology as well. So, Mick, what have you seen that has changed with biologicals, just specifically over the last few years?
Well, certainly it's been a hot area, and the consumer continues to want cleaner food, so there's been a lot of innovation, a tremendous amount of investment coming into the space, both from early stage companies that are supported by venture capital dollars, as an example, and then also the large multinational companies are committing to biologicals and making investments. And so those investments have really helped elevate the performance and the perception of biologicals. So I think farmers, while they still have questions and want to be educated, they're starting to become more and more comfortable with the technology and what it can do on their farm. At DPH Biologicals, what we've been doing in that space is we've also invested in development, but we work closely with our channel partners. So a couple of examples, one being we've been in the Winfield United Answer Plot tests for 2 years, where we put one of our products, SP1, in with starter fertilizer. And so that develops a robust data package over multiple states, multiple sites, trusted science that can then be taken out to retailers or farmers and help them have the confidence that those products are good products. The other thing that we do and focus on are collaborations and relationships. We feel like we have a unique set of skills to develop products, to take products to market, and to service our retail partners. When we look for partners, guys like Derek and Paul at River Valley Ag and Streamline, we work to help them understand our technology, understand their goals, and ensure that our products can help them and their businesses, and most importantly, help their farmer so their businesses can thrive.
Right, those relationships are so important. Before we talk to you guys about that, I also understand you have Regenifex.
Yes. Yeah, so Regenifex technology, this is a technology that's based on a plant-based humus compost. It is the foundation, actually, for our SP1 Classic biofertilizer, and it's an example of our commitment to manufacturing quality. So, you know, throughout that composting process, we do this in Princeton, Illinois, at our compost operation. We are constantly sampling the compost operation to make sure that things are developing as we would like them to develop, to ultimately produce a feedstock that we carry out an extraction from that becomes the base of SP1 Classic. So, you know, very, very detailed effort to make sure that we have the highest quality feedstock that produces the highest quality biofertilizer.
Right, and I tell you, just hearing you guys talk, I'm realizing what a big space this is. And it can be confusing, but that's
Absolutely.
why you guys are here. But let's take away some of that confusion and what makes DPH unique in this marketplace. What sets you apart?
Well, as I mentioned, you know, we focus on product development, technology development, and commercialization, and finding the right partners. I think, you know, most of us came from either a farm or a chemical company, and oftentimes both. And so we really believe that there are many tools that the farmer can use to grow a healthy crop. And so we often focus on a balanced approach. How can our technologies work better together with synthetic fertilizer, or better together with chemistry, as an example?
Plus, each operation is different. Each region is different.
Absolutely.
And so that's when you come to your local guys who are handling it. I've got to ask you why you guys decided to partner with DPH. Why was that important to you?
Well, you know, to us, it's about solving a problem, right? And so when we source products for the Streamline Ag portfolio, we ask ourselves, does this solve a problem? And DPH has a large library. They do a great job with quality, consistency, and data. They have a lot of data behind their products, so it's proven, and performance. And our experience so far is the performance has been there with their products, and those are all important things to when you're going and you're selling to a farmer.
Right. Derek, what about you?
When I was growing up, I learned that I could learn the most from some of the older folks in the business and some of the people who have been most involved. And so just like my grandfather helped teach me, with the group here at DPH and Agri-Energy, who we work with closely there brings a lot of knowledge, probably around 4 decades worth of knowledge in the biological space. And that's a big deal for me as a grower and as a retailer, because I've got other growers that are placing trust in us to place the right product at the right time in the right place.
So you use this on your farm?
Yes, ma'am.
What all do you grow?
Mostly corn, soybeans, some alfalfa, and occasionally some small grains.
All right, well, we're going to talk more about that in just a little bit. Mick, I'm going to go back to you. All right, I'm a news person, right? And I love my ag news. I get a lot of press releases coming out of DPH and bio, but that's a good thing. That means you guys are launching a lot of exciting products and some of the newest things. Let's talk about that. What are you most excited about coming down the pipeline?
Well, we're excited about the pipeline in general, and I want to come back to one of your questions on how we work, and we work to create products that fit the farm and how the farmer farms. So we recognize that in that biological space, there's a lot of things that require special treatment, if you will. That slows a farmer down. And so we're looking for innovations that fit the farm, the way the farmer farms. And one of the technology platforms we're really excited about is what we call the Prime technology platform. We will introduce that in 2 practices, if you will. We'll introduce Envilex Prime, which you saw the press release on. That's for use on dry fertilizer that can seamlessly integrate into how retailers creating the dry fertilizer blend for their grower. And then we'll also introduce, and you can see on the graphic here, through a seed applied platform with the biocapsule technology in a brand called Essential Prime Pack. And that will be used at planting and help ensure the crop emerges. And so I'll turn it over to Alex and probably Derek here to talk a little bit more about Envilex Prime.
Okay.
Yeah, so, the Prime technology is actually an alteration of our manufacturing process of bacillus bacteria, which make up the core component of both Envilex Prime as well as our Essential Prime Packs. And that altered manufacturing process brings a lot of benefits for those bacteria. Specifically, what we see is resilience under different environmental extremes. So things like temperature, pH, soil salinity. One of the things that we often hear from growers, is a concern about consistency of performance. Didn't work in this location, worked in this location. In many cases, you can link that back to an environment because, again, these are living microorganisms, and they do respond in different environmental conditions. So one of the things that we've seen, and here's an example in the graphic actually related to temperature. So if you think about one of the more challenging environments for biologicals, it would be really cold temperatures, which are pretty typical for me in central Indiana and in many parts of the Corn Belt. Typically, we're planting in the soil temperatures that are in that low to mid 50 degree range. That light seed that can sometimes struggle in those cold temperatures, it's also a challenge for microbial active ingredients. What we've seen with this Prime technology is a significant increase in the ability to flourish under that environmental extreme, either low or high temperatures, also high saline soils, and then pH ranges that can be typically difficult for biologicals to flourish, but we've seen good resilience with that. So this priming technology is going to build consistency in performance of these technologies for the grower, and we're really excited to introduce it.
Anything you'd like to add?
I would just like to add, I'm not the science guy here. I don't understand the Prime.
You're the user, you're the grower, though.
I'm the user. I just like to know whether it's going to work or not. And I don't know anything about the Prime technology, but one thing I do know is that it's been very exciting seeing some of the results so far.
Right. You can see the difference in the roots there with the graphic we see on the screen, and that's after using this Prime technology, right?
Absolutely. And for a grower, On the left, we've seen, direct benefit for nutrient use efficiency, in particular, increases in phosphorus. And I know Derek's realized this in his own operation, as well as the work that we've done in developing this technology.
I actually had a hand in this particular trial, if you will. Now, most of our stuff is not controlled. I'll say that up front. We're typically putting it in real-world situations. We want to make sure it's got all the variables there, and we want something that we know is going to work for that other grower because they can't control everything, right? And so in this case here, we went out there, mixed it, ran it through the blender. The farmer, Troy, he hooked onto it with his tractor, took it out there and spread. We went out there last month and did some digging, and I was surprised. I know the retailer was very surprised. And so we pulled some sap tests because we also know, too, that pictures are important, but we also wanted some more data with that. And we were very impressed. The phosphorus uptake over the treated versus the untreated was up 11.5%. And the potassium was up about 1.5% roughly. So anyway, the phosphorus we expected, the potassium was kind of a bonus. And needless to say, I believe Troy and Nathan both were very happy with the results.
Oh, I'm sure. And I'm sure you guys were happy too, because you're getting that in-field feedback from the grower, and you've got the scientific research to back it up as well.
Absolutely.
All right. Anything you'd like to add before we go to break?
I think that covers it. I think you heard from Derek who used it, so that's probably a great time to stop.
I tell you what, we love those testimonials. But before we go to break, we are going to open our phone lines at number 877-731-6733. And guess what? Every on-air caller will win a tactical knife or a power bank. So we want to hear from you. Give us a call. Power bank, by the way, is going to keep your phone charged.
Absolutely.
That's right? All right. So that number again, 877-731-6733. Don't go away.
Bellatrove Companion Max ST is a biofungicide seed treatment with 3 modes of action, activating the plant's immune response, directly fighting pathogens, and preventing growth of soil and foliar-borne diseases. Companion enhances profitability and stress resistance while promoting plant growth and overall yield. Choose your crop's trusted companion. Bellatrove Companion Max ST. Stimulate your plant's natural defenses.
Do you have an invention idea but don't know what to do next? Go to InventHelp.com to get started today. We have representatives nationwide who will explain the InventHelp process step by step. Over 10,000 patents have been secured through InventHelp's patent referral services. The InventHelp Databank includes thousands of companies who have agreed to review new ideas. We've been helping inventors since 1984. Let's help you next. Get started today. Go to InventHelp.com for free information.
It's an encore of the new season of Farm Her.
I think it's very easy to take something for granted when you're around it every day. I'm a part of something that's really big. It's bigger than myself.
I'll take you from the coast of California to America's heartland, showcasing stories of incredible women in agriculture.
Women want something for themselves, and I want to help them do what's on their heart and in their mind and put it out into the world.
Farm Her's newest episodes, Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, or you can stream every episode on demand with your subscription to RFD TV now.
Those look good. We've got to get you some.
Oh, we don't need to get one.
No, today.
Are you serious?
I'm serious, baby. Your boots have holes in them.
All right.
They look so good.
Howdy, neighbors. I'm Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller. You know, from cattle to cotton, Texas agriculture matters every day. Our show looks at the role agriculture plays in our daily lives. So watch us Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central.
And welcome back to Rural America Live with DPH Biologicals. Our phone lines are open, and we do want to hear from you. We want you to be a part of this show. It's 877-731-6733. Plus, every on-air caller will win a tackle knife or a power bank. This power bank going to keep your phone charged, okay? You don't want to leave this in your purse when you get ready to get on the airplane, all right? This is a really great knife. But anyway, every caller tonight that comes on air and asks a question will get one of those. All right, let's get back to our questions before we get some callers coming in here. Mick, you guys are, like I say, on the cutting edge, you know, getting these new technologies coming down the pike. So how does that work into your business model? Kind of what criteria do you have to do at DPH Bio to develop these new technologies?
Well, similar to how we service farmers through our collaborative partners, we also look for partners on the technology side. And so there is a lot of investment going into companies that are inventing things. And as I mentioned earlier, many of those companies don't have the skill set to get it from invention to the farm. And so we've accessed several technologies through those relationships. And how we evaluate that is, I think Paul answered that earlier when he said, what's the farmer's problem that we need to solve? We look at it a couple of ways. Historically, we've often looked at it agronomically. So, for example, this spring was a cold, wet spring, lots of seedling diseases. So how do we ensure that that farmer who's making significant investment in seed gets the best emergence possible? Residues or the residue breakdown products can help with that. A few of the products on this chart that we'll soon be launching coming out of the Essential Prime Pack will provide protection against diseases as well as nematodes, as an example. In addition, though, I think as we've often talked agronomically, one thing that's changing is now farmers are under a lot more pressure for profit. And so as we think about things like Envilex Prime, and you'll see some data from Paul, and I think Derek has some examples, how can they ensure that their investment is the most efficient? And I think that's where farmers are learning that biology along with fertilizer or biology along with chemistry actually can get the most bang for their buck. So it's the agronomic problem and the business problem, and how can we work together
right,
to
so
solve
you're the
those.
problem solver
We
in
try
all
to
of
be.
this.
Yeah,
we love that. Paul, let's talk about where folks this summer maybe can see some of these trials and actually see this at work and see it firsthand.
Yeah, so we at Streamline Ag have an umbrella we call Future Farm, which if you're a regular RFD TV viewer on Market Day Report, we have a 4-minute vignette that plays from our Future Farm signature site at Elkhorn, Nebraska. We have 5 other sites that are very similar, and at these sites, we do replicated research. We also do strip trials. We do demonstration plots. And so we have one in Yuma, Colorado. We have Elkhorn, Nebraska, Algona, Iowa. We have one in Ionia, Michigan, Delavan, Wisconsin, and Pittsville, Ohio. So they're spread out so that there's a lot of opportunity for farmers even to go into these sites. We have them signed with QR codes, so you can do a self-guided tour if you want. So you can click on the QR code, and it'll tell you what you're looking at, right? So we also use that as a proving ground for new innovative things. So whether it's stress mitigation products like Mick was talking about, there's a lot of new cutting edge things coming down the pipeline that help with that nutrient use efficiency. And I think one of the most exciting things to me that's coming down the pipeline is this whole biocontrol area, which we'll probably talk a little bit more about. But we have products that we're taking a look at in these that have the potential to suppress diseases, pests, things like that, and doing it with biologicals versus synthetics.
Right. And so how does Streamline Ag actually kind of harness DPH's biological platform?
Yeah, so DPH has a lot of technology in a lot of the products that we offer out to the farm. And so one of the products is called residue release. And so you've heard Mick and Alex talk about residues. Very, very similar product. There's multiple strains of bacillus, which is basically bacteria. When applied to crop stover, that bacteria breaks down or consumes dead carbon, and so it breaks down that residue. We, as a seed-driven crop inputs company, the way we think about that is we're breaking down that residue to create the most optimal planting bed for the next spring. And so you don't have as much residue on top of the soil, and your planter performs better going through that. And then in your seed V, where you're dropping your seed, you don't have hairpinning, which is when residue gets down in that trench and you don't get good seed to soil contact. One of the other products in our portfolio is called Tune-Up Plus. And so Tune-Up Plus is a seed box treatment. Tune-Up Plus, from a DPH perspective, they provide a lot of microbials and biologicals that we deliver through what we've referred to as biocapsules. And so within one of the biocapsules in our offering, we have a consortium of bacteria and biology. So there's a couple called azotobacters in there that fixate nitrogen. There are some bacilluses that help with nutrient use efficiency. And then there's a trichoderm in there that provides some good fungal protection right on the seed.
Impressive looking at that graphic and the difference there.
Yeah, what you're looking at here is Tune-Up Plus, the corn version versus the untreated. We did some flagging studies on emergence out at Future Farm. And the top row is you can see the first red bar, day one emergence, 24 plants versus 19 in the untreated. Likewise, you look at the next bar, day two emergence, day three emergence, and by day four, you basically ended up with a nub, right?
Nothing.
So the most important thing about establishing early potential is getting uniform early emergence. And so, that third and fourth day can almost become, they become competitors to those first emergers. And you can see in this case about 18 bushel difference. Now we hand shelled this, and so it's close. But overall, and I'll talk about this a little bit later with some of the yield results we've seen with this product and the package that we source from DPH that helps that yield increase.
And what about with tune-up? Some of the statistics there.
Yeah, so we have tune-up in corn, soybeans, grain sorghum, covers rice, cotton. There's just a multiple of crops that we can put tune-up on. It's also a delivery vehicle for delivering other solutions. We talked about what's the problem, what's the solution. Well, corn rootworm is a big problem. Yeah. And so we've identified a biological way to suppress corn rootworm through this delivery system. And the graphic that's up on the screen, as we looked at this through field trials and on Future Farm, we looked at it against different trait stacks. So when you have a Smart Stacks Pro planted in that field, you have the most above and below ground protection against rootworm. So when we applied the biological through Tune-Up Plus, we didn't see any yield difference there. But when you put it against trait stacks that don't have as much protection or don't have any protection, we saw this 9 bushel per acre response, which tells you those biologicals are doing their job. They're working, they're suppressing feeding, and they're also creating mechanisms that decrease damage caused by the pest.
Yes, that's just remarkable. And what about anything else coming up with the biocapsules?
There is. So as we look forward, there's some exciting things coming. So the biocapsules have so far been dry products. So we're applying those in the seed box with talc graphite and some other plant stimulants and things like that. We haven't had a good option on the liquid side until now. And so we're really excited, and I think DPH is excited. We're looking and working with DPH on what we can put in what's called the biocapsule LR. And so it will be a biocapsule that holds that biology out of the liquid contents of whatever you might be applying to your crop. So it might be a nutritional that these biologicals have trouble surviving in. So we can hold them in that biocapsule until we're ready to use it. Depress that top button. On top, it'll put the biologicals into whatever you're spraying or applying to the crop. So you get the highest efficacy out of that biological. So that's coming. Things are just moving really quick, and that's a really exciting innovation that we've got now.
That is exciting. Yeah. Looking forward to that. We've got our first caller tonight. We've got Brent from Iowa. Brent, who would you like to ask the question to?
Hello?
Hey, yeah, Brent, you're on the air. You have a question?
Yeah, this is Brent calling in from Iowa. I understand you said that the fertilizer that I'm currently putting down is not actually available to the plants right away. How does the application of biologicals put it into a form where they are available to the plant right away?
Yeah, so I'll take that question. Thanks, Brent. So one thing that we know, and there's actually been some very recent research, in the last 15, 20 years that has really focused on this, is that we're becoming much more aware of the critical relationship between microbes and how plants derive nutrition. So Dr. James White, professor at Rutgers, has been publishing on this notion of rhizophagy. It's the association that helps describe how microbes interact with plant roots, and specifically those microbes act as a vehicle for nutrition to enter the plant root. So we often, we think of plant nutrition as often just being a chemical process, but it is for sure a biological process, and that's what Dr. White has published extensively about. So microbes actually entering the plant root and then cycling through the plant root and back out and carrying that nutrition with it. So they convert nutrition into plant available forms that makes it much more efficient for the plant to essentially ingest and help carry out growth processes with.
Yeah, well, Brent, hopefully that answered your question. We appreciate you calling in. If you would like to call in, that number is 877-731-6733. Anybody on this desk can answer your question, except maybe me. No.
Tammy,
I might be able to.
Derek was sharing before we came on the air here about some of the work he's doing with lower rates of fertilizer in a program approach with biology. Derek, I don't know if you got anything you want to add to Alex's answer there.
Sure, you bet. So I've had those difficult conversations with the bank or even my wife sometimes about how we're going to get that fertilizer bill down, right? And so this has been an eye-opener for us. Now, I will say it's not unlike some of the synthetics that we use, it's not a one-and-done deal. It's more of a program approach or a system approach, if you will. And so playing with a lot of this stuff on our farm, we've been able to learn a lot of the ways not to do it. And because of that, we figured out some of the ways that do work. And in our case, we've cut out all dry fertilizer, okay? We've cut out a lot of our nitrogen inputs. And there's nothing worse than wondering if you should have put more down. And so a way that we double check ourselves and make sure that we're on the right track is we're very diligent in our SAP testing. And so we believe in that, and we believe that gives us peace of mind during the crop season with a SAP test that we can make those corrections if needed be. And this year has been a great example of that, not only on our farm, but a lot of our clients' farms. We've been out there pulling those samples, and it's been very encouraging. Just like we talked about with the Invilex earlier, seeing that kind of an increase. I had a client that had applied his digester last fall, and they're a no-tiller. And I will admit, sometimes you don't always see that stuff breaking down, and so you kind of wonder, is it working, is it not? And there's ways to notice. You can look at the corn stalks and see if the center part has been is starting to digest or break down. You can pull back the residue and look for that fungal or that fungi that we're looking at. What am I trying to say, Alex?
Fungi and bacteria.
That's exactly the word I was looking for.
Saprophytes.
Well, you're close. You almost had it right. But those kinds of things. But then we pulled SAP test, and we just got back from vacation, and I was more excited. I think about as excited about vacation as I was those emails. And so from our lab there, we saw where that particular gentleman, his P and K were just off the charts, and with the treated and the untreated. So, yeah, it's a soft spot. I can go on and on about this, but I love helping farmers cut their bottom line and improve things, but yet not risk or lying awake in bed wondering if the combine's going to tell them something different.
That's right. And now you have a better conversation with the bank and your wife.
Yes.
Because you have that
Both are pretty
fertilizer bill,
important.
right?
Yeah.
Right, they're very important. You're going to keep the wife happy. Let's talk about, he mentioned the biodigesters.
Yes.
What's the benefit of that over tillage?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a really exciting area. So, one of the things that we know is that soil disturbance does harm soil biology. So, when you till your soils, there is a unintended impact on soil biology, and it can have a negative impact on soil health overall. So, when you're in that no-till situation, obviously you're greatly minimizing disturbance. But the challenge, of course, is an abundance of residue, particularly if you have really high yields, which we hope all growers do. So, I love this story because this was a real-world test. Executed just outside of Tolono, Illinois, actually, just north of the high school, right south of the Champaign Airport. And in this particular instance, this application was made just before Thanksgiving in 2022. I had a colleague of mine walk this field, actually, in early April, because I wanted to get a sense for what he was seeing, if he was seeing some of those changes, Derek, that you had mentioned. And he came back to me and said, I honestly can't make out any change in the field. So we work with a partner called Aerial Plot, really good research partner, and they specialize in using remote sensing to image research trials. And they imaged this one actually in mid-April, April 15th of last year. And you could very clearly see changes in NDVI. So what you're measuring in that colorized image is a colorized NDVI image. And what you're seeing is a change. In most cases, we think about NDVI as being linked to plant growth and plant health. But in this case, what you want to see is NDVI decline because you're losing crop residue. And that's exactly what was occurring here. So it was about a 20% change in NDVI over the course of the winter. And one of the exciting things, in the Midwest, even in parts of the upper Midwest, we are seeing winters be a bit warmer, and that allows these technologies to work through the winters. There's enough heat there to help that technology do what it needs to do, which is change the crop residue. And the consequence of that is potentially more nutrients at the time of planting when the next crop grows in, as well as alleviating some of those pain points we talked about with planting, not interfering with the planter, less wear on tractor tires and equipment in general.
So can the residues be paired with some burn down products for cover crops?
Absolutely. So, one of the things that, one of the areas, we take very much we want to be very much a science-first company. So as a part of that, we have sponsored a graduate student with Dr. Fred Bilo at the University of Illinois. And one of the areas that we wanted to look at with Dr. Bilo was specifically the use of one of these biodigesters at the time of burn down with cover crops. We have more growers working with cover crops and trying to incorporate those in their operation. Cover crops can be very, very useful for helping sustain plant health. So if you think about the steps towards best plant health, or soil health, I should say, first, of course, is not disturbing your soil. Second is having a living root throughout the entire season, including the winter. And that's where cover crops come into play. But they can also, cover crops, I think, as many growers have experienced, they can be problematic, and they can draw back on yields, basically acting as a weed, especially early in the season when that burn down is challenging. And an example of some of the work that Dr. Bilo and his graduate student Darby published last year at the Tri-Societies meeting is represented here in the graphic. Specifically, you can see on the far right, that's a cover crop using cereal rye with no management other than the burn down. And you can see where the yields came out. Statistically, you see the letter C. So it is very different than having no cover crop. In fact, you're suffering roughly 8-9 bushels of yield on soybeans that went into that ground where you had no cover crop. So it was basically a yield penalty. But as you incorporated management strategies, including where it says you can see the MB, this is Residues Complete, our biodigester, either the biodigester by itself or biodigester with ATS, we can see that yield improving, and you're mitigating that penalty, if you will, tied to the use of the cover crop. So, different management strategies getting you closer to the no cover crop situation, so you get the benefit of soil health improvement without the yield drag associated with the cereal rye. It's a really good example of some of the work we've invested in specifically with leading researchers like Dr. Bilo.
That is, and making that type research easy to understand. Very talented for you to be able to do that. I want to come back to you and put you on the spot.
All right, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. You're on the hot seat. Has using the DPH bio products changed your operation, changed your life?
Well, changed my life. That's pretty significant.
Strong,
yeah, that's pretty strong. But, no, I tell you what, I was fortunate enough to kind of cut my teeth with this company. And I've tried a lot of things, and we do. We don't have blinders on. We like to try a lot of other products, but we seem to circle back here. The results are consistent, and the support. The support's a big deal for us. You know, another story came to mind, Mick, when you asked that question earlier. We started working with a new grower just south of us this year, and he had given us about 90 acres and said, hey, just, you know, use your program, and kind of back to the program approach or the system approach. And so we used the digester last fall, and he's a no-tiller, and you could see some degradation, but it wasn't significant. This spring, he went out there and broadcast a rate of SP1 along with the humic acid, and then came back with a planter box treatment, and with the capsule technology. And so kind of got a 1-2-3 punch. We pulled some sap tests on that as well, and that was very interesting. So keep in mind, this gentleman didn't put any dry fertilizer or any other manures down. He was just going with our program. And when we got those results back, well, first of all, I should back up. We took a soil test, and the soil test was somewhere around a 15 on the P1, which was okay. But when we got the results back on the sap test on this beautiful bean crop he's got going right now, I was very surprised to see the phosphorus levels as high as they were. They were well into the excess level. Potassium was right there beside it. So it makes me feel good, and I appreciate having the confidence to be able to do that, knowing that we're getting products that work.
Right, and you're seeing that day in and day out. That's awesome. Thanks for that story. Now, again, those phone lines are open, so call in with your questions. We want to hear from you. And that number is 877-731-6733. We do still have the tactical knife and the power bank. So, folks, call in with your questions, and you can get one of these great. The power bank going to keep your phone charged, and a great knife here. So don't go away. We'll be right back here with more Rural America Live.
Why leave residue to sit when it holds key nutrients for your crop's development? TerraTrove Residues Complete is a leading biodigester that breaks down crop residue and returns nutrients back into the soil. With the best-in-class delivery system, Residues Complete ensures its ability to stick to the residue while keeping its biology alive. Turn your trash into treasure with Residues Complete and accelerate your residue breakdown.
Hi, this is Jimmy Sturr, inviting you to join me for the Jimmy Sturr Show, featuring yours truly in the orchestra, plus special guests every week. We'll play lots of your favorite music, including polkas, big band, and lots more. Tell your friends about it. Join me every Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern, for the Jimmy Sturr Show, only here on RFD TV, rural America's most important network.
With a membership exceeding 500,000 and chapters spanning all over the nation, FFA Today is exploring the world of FFA, from academic pursuits to leadership development and...
Welcome back here on Rural America Live with DPH Biologicals. We do want to hear from you. Our phone lines are open. That number to call again, 877-731-6733. And I've been told I'm not doing a very good Vanna White tonight because I'm covering up the logo. So we're going to make sure you see the logo. This is the power bank. This is the tactical knife, all right? These are great, great items. You get a choice of one if you want to call in and ask a question to one of our experts here with DPH. And I know that as we are so focused on making sure that inputs now, I mean, that a farmer has to watch that bottom line so much. So let's talk about what's on the market, what you got, and kind of looking at those variables of these biologicals and what a farmer needs to know going into that, making those decisions.
Yeah, Tammy. Well, you know, you asked earlier about what DPH Biologicals does that's different, and there's a lot of questions that farmers still have to make sure they can trust the technology and ensure that it works, and that it's also a very cluttered space. I think by last count, there's 1,400 companies working in biologicals. And so many of them will say, we have a biodigester. Well, not all biologicals are created the same. The biodigester that we've developed with some of our collaborative partners includes a consortium, so multiple species of bacteria that do different things. I can't explain exactly what they all do, but I know we have several. The purpose of that is consistency, and then it's paired with a leading surfactant system. So microbes need food to survive, and then also when you talk about digesting the stalks, it needs to stick to the stalk. And so the packages that Streamline offers, that River Valley offers, and that DPH Bio provides is a robust package that includes multiple species of bacteria along with a complete surfactant system.
And I want to pose this same question to you guys on this side, because you're out there meeting these growers and producers every day. So when we look at this vast array of biologicals on the market, what do you tell them that they're going to get a return on their investment if they do this? So what's the biggest advantage of using this?
Well, you know, when I look at a farmer making a decision or us making a decision on how to select a product, you know, I think especially when return on investment is the number one thing you want to get to, right? You want to solve that problem so you get the highest return. You know, you really got to look at formulation, your packaging. So what type of shelf life do you get? What type of stability do you get? And then delivery is so important with biologicals. There's a lot of products that are delivered with very low efficacy, just because they don't survive in the solution they're delivered in. Look at how the products are delivered and the timing that they're delivered at. And so the closer to, with seed, for example, the closer you can get to planting, if you're applying things to the seed, the higher efficacy you're going to get out of these biologicals. So, I mean, those are the types of things that you need to ask to make sure you're buying a live, very high-quality product.
Right. Yeah. You want to add to that?
Tell you what, there's nothing more rewarding than working with a farmer, and there's nothing sometimes tougher than working with a farmer. and I'm calling the kettle black here. We all have our method, our habit of how we go to the field and how we do everything. And so having a product that will dovetail right into what they're doing and then not having to change their application style or their trips across the field, that's a big deal. And so that's what I love about the products that we're working with and talking about here, is that they can all be incorporated with other passes. And yeah.
Because you don't want to add to the work. We don't want to work harder.
And you bring up a great point, because just like talking about the different organisms and such, sometimes other products out there, when they put them together, and there's some good products, but maybe they've got to be refrigerated for a while, or maybe they've just got an X amount of shelf life. I mean, we've had some SP1 3 and 4 years. Well, actually, I've got some I actually put in a trial this year that's 5 years old, and we stuck it in the back of the warehouse and kind of forgot about it. So hey, let's try it. Let's dust it off. And I'll be darned if it's not alive. And the way I check it is we put it out on a trailer, and if it'll grow algae on that sucker out in the sun, we know we're on the right path. And so that's important. DPH has figured out a way to help make products more stable, last in mixes a longer time. And so as a farmer, we can check that easy box right there.
Right. Well, ease of use, consistency, those are things they're looking for, and that's kind of one of your jobs. That's one of your trademark issues right now. So, but from region to region, operation to operation, how can you deliver that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, one of the things that we've done, you know, and SP1's a great example, SP1 Classic, you know, we invested heavily in testing in many different environments. So I treat a technology like that, particularly an agronomic technology, is one where sampling a lot of environments is really important, because again, it's a living organism. You know, you can think about it in the same vein that you would think about developing seed genetics and you know, wanting to sample lots of different environments to understand where that variety performs and where it doesn't. It's the same with some of these agronomic technologies, biological agronomic technologies. So, one, that's critical, investing to do that and do it well. One of the things, that we're very blessed with at DPH is we do have and I mentioned them early on, but I want to come back to the science and technology team we have. So, Alexandria, outstanding microbiologist. We're QA/QCing everything that goes out the door, every manufactured batch. It's not math. We're not estimating. We're actually physically counting the microorganisms that are in that batch going out the door to make sure that we're meeting the specs that we put on our label. So that's really important to us. One of the things that we're, really critically looking at again is, estimating performance. So, one of the things you do have to keep in mind with biological technologies is they're not going to work 100% of the time. Nothing works 100% of the time. So again, going back to the point I was making earlier about sampling lots of different environments, we've been able to learn things about the best positioning of our technology where you do have the highest chance for success. So for example, with SP1, we have a good understanding of where to position that technology where the farmer's going to realize the best benefit from that technology. And that's exactly how we position it for use in the field. One of the things, this year in particular, as we think about the next kind of wave of technologies, we touched on biocontrol earlier. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that I'm a plant pathologist, so I do have a little thought about plant disease. And this year, kind of reminded us about plant diseases. It was a wet spring in a lot of places, and with a wet spring, that has a consequence typically for seedling diseases that, the last couple of years was pretty dry. We didn't really think about that. This year, we thought about it a lot. So some of the technologies that we'll be delivering using the biocapsule system and our essential prime packs include technologies like a biological fungicide, so broad spectrum biofungicide that can complement what you're doing with other seed treatment technologies. We have some gaps, particularly for Pythium, that this can help protect against something going wrong there, particularly for early stand establishment. We're also going to be delivering technologies that can help suppress nematodes. That's Chitonox FC. We just issued a press release on that last week. And then we have another technology, a robust biofungicide in our pipeline called BourneX that will protect against sudden death syndrome in soybeans. So we're bringing a number of technologies that can be delivered through that biocapsule system, all to be applied at planting, that can help the growers through situations like this year where you have variable weather and weather that can be really challenging when it comes to plant pests.
I can't imagine trying to keep up with the challenges that Mother Nature throws at you guys. I mean, it is a lot. Let's move on to fall. I know we've got some opportunities coming up with fall, and especially with crop residue breakdown and even the dry fertilizers that are powered by biologicals. So what are the benefits of fall application?
Well, before fall gets here, we're waiting for a phone call from the EPA on that last product Alex mentioned. So it's a very good product. Farmers need another solution for SDS, and we're very, very close. And when that's registered, you'll start to see it out in the market. And Alex, also, we've got a bioinsecticide in the pipeline.
Absolutely.
That is proven to be very effective and a safe alternative to some of the chemistry technologies out there. So I wanted to just come back to the pipeline there, Tammy. But as it relates to fall, yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that does set DPH Bio apart is we do look at the entire growing season and where can biology help. And that's one of the reasons we're so excited to launch Envilex Prime, an offering that goes with a grower that's using fall fertilizer. And to Derek's earlier point, finding ways to go into a practice that they're already implementing. So Envilex Prime this fall is a product that we're really excited about. In addition, we've talked a lot about the residue breakdown products, Residues Complete being the DPH Bio brand. That's another one that works great when it's applied in the fall. To your point, it can go with a burn down application. So as the corn yields continue to increase, there's more and more residue to break down in the field. And so if you can get that out as early as possible in the fall, let Mother Nature and those warm temperatures get that environment going and get that breakdown started.
Right, good advice. All right, we've got just a few minutes left in the show. I want to give everybody a chance to kind of give your final thoughts. Paul, let's start with you. What's your big takeaway that you want folks at home to know?
Well, this is a fast-moving market. There's a lot of cutting-edge technology, and there's a real opportunity for farmers to harness this technology on their farms to increase return on investment, decrease cost, and optimize yield.
Right. Derek, what do you want folks to walk away with tonight?
Well, I think right now is a great example of small margins right now in the row crop industry. And I think what a better time to take a look at some different avenues like this and be able to increase that or widen that profit margin as much as possible. And I believe it's a good way to do it. I also believe in not jumping in all at once, and that's why I love the SAP test method. It's a great way to measure.
I was going to say, what is your best advice for someone who's not using this right now?
Mm-hmm.
You know, this would be their first time to get into it. What's your advice?
I think they need to familiarize themselves with what's in these products. Just like active ingredients and in your different chemicals, you need to be familiar with what each bacillus strain does. I think that's important. And then measure. It doesn't take any effort at all to pull a SAP test. I'm keeping old Texas Plant Soil Labs very busy this year. We're on the phone a couple times a week sometimes. So, but do that, and then you don't have that risk or that anxiety of, did I make the right move? Start with a digester, start with Invilex. I think those are two great entry-level products, and then fit in what you can with what you're doing.
All right, good advice, good advice. All right, Alex, what are your final thoughts?
Yeah, I think, you know, what we've seen is this space has really matured over the last, well, I'd say really 10, 15 years. So a lot of technology out there, but the technology is improving. You know, as we heard already, our commitment to QA/QC and making sure that we're delivering the best products possible to deliver the most consistent effect. And we're really excited to be a contributor in this space.
All right, absolutely. You got the final 30 seconds
well,
here.
Thank you for having us, first of all. Appreciate Derek and Paul joining us. And I think to build on Alex's comment, the technology and biologicals in row crop agriculture, it's coming into its own, right? And I think the industry has learned how to best get this technology into the market. Some of that innovation comes from the customer, as Derek talks about the program, as Paul talks about the biocapsule and the delivery system. Mm-hmm. And so we're excited about how DPH biologicals can contribute to a balanced approach with biology and other inputs and ultimately help the farmer solve problems.
Partnerships like this are helping the farmer, and that's what we love. Thank you guys for being with us, and thank you for joining us on Rural America Live.